are live on Facebook and YouTube. Dog behavior question and answer. Um, yeah, we're here. We're at it every Thursday, 6 p.m. Same place, same time. So I guess why don't we jump right into it? Well, first I'd like to give a little brief update on the dogs that are here. We do have more than normal, the normal amount. Um, but I think three out of the seven are dog aggressive, are fearful of dogs, and then the rest are human aggressive. Um, but they're all doing well. I've been working late nights, make sure everyone gets their special time, uh, because I want to get every dog to a certain point if I can. Although I know it's not uh, feasible sometimes that every dog get to the same level, but I'm going to try because we only have so much time. Maybe one day, if I have it my way, I'd like to keep maybe two dogs or three dogs at a time, but for like a month. You know, that a full 5 weeks. I'd be working with a lot less dogs, but at any one time. But I don't know. I'd like to experiment with how far I can get psychologically with the dogs that I work with. So, anyway, that's a little update. Might as well get into it. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Okay. First question. Uh, First question. Queen Mom 523 says, "I just found you guys. Can't wait to watch. I do have a question. Can two female German shepherds able who have had some vicious fights ever be able to live together peacefully? I have been told that it is a lost cause, as they will always fight and possibly to death." Hi, Amy. Okay, so two females, they're constantly fighting. People have said that it's impossible to fight. Well, let's just talk about fighting for a second. Uh, so, over the years, when I've dealt with dogs that fight, I've identified a common problem, a pattern. And since I don't know your situation, I'm just going to speak of what I've noticed pattern wise. Hi, Pat. How are you? I've just I'm going to tell you what I've noticed pattern wise with when I talk to people when it comes to fighting, or when it comes to when they have dogs that fight. Okay, so this is the pattern. Okay. First of all, it's good to know the dynamics of it, why it's happening. I can't really find that out. So it's just going to be a brief general response. Okay. So when dogs fight and they continue to fight, right? First and foremost, let's just take this into account. Let's let let's just think of it as children fighting in the house. Okay. Eventually, it could be a situation that it's inevitable, right? They're gonna disagree somewhere along the line. Um, you have to figure out why they're fighting. Okay, but that's secondary. Primarily, what that tells you, if you have dogs that are fighting in the home, what it tells you is that now you have to control more or add more structure inside the home. Um, you have to sort of not just separate them for a while. Well, I would say separating is okay, but I don't want that to be a solution. That's everyone's first go-to, right? When they have fighting dogs, just separate them. But that doesn't solve the problem. Okay, so normally when dogs fight, and then it continues to go on, and fights happen out of nowhere, right? People call me and they say, "My dog's fighting out of nowhere. This, blah 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 blah." It happened. She just came over, and it just happened. Okay, that may be true. That may be true, and we'll go over why that is, right? Because there's just not. It's never for any reason. And here's the deal: a lot of people think because the dogs fight, and they're frequently, that each and every fight is an individual sort of situation. Okay, when dogs that are fighting frequently like that, it is because they that first fight happened, or the second fight happened. It it may seem out of nowhere. It may just seem, oh yeah, they were just walking. And one of them came up to me, and I was petting one, and then all of a sudden, blah, blah, right, right. Okay, so that seems like it's out of nowhere, but it's because of what has happened in the past. Okay, so I definitely want people to understand that it's a lack of trust between the. It's just a damaged relationship you're dealing with now. It's a lack of trust between the two. It's more of a situation where sometimes it's a, I'm going to get you before you get me situation. And I've noticed that a lot throughout the years. So again, when you want to, what your focus should be is to um, not separate sort of physically or structurally, meaning separation by way of another room, a baby gate. What you want to do is sort of shut down their freedom inside the house, their freedom of choice inside the house, because then they don't have the option to even think mischievous or get into mischief. So, um, one of the things that I really preach uh, when it comes to two dogs fighting is, shut down the attention that you give them, because dogs fight over attention, jealous, that whole thing. And then they'll fight over resources, bones, food, toys, things like that. So take that away, take the attention away, take the toys away, and the really allow the relationship to sort of become good again. You got to make the relationship great again. Um, but in order to do that, you have to be in control. So everything should happen through your control. All right, long-winded answer, I know, but I would start with this again: adding more control inside the house, less freedom of allowing them to do whatever they want, run wherever they want, things like that. And to do that, you may have to, if you don't have that, you may have to teach the dogs what we call the place command, or to go to your bed command. And they must do that. Now, here's the other key. If they're fighting because of jealousy, when you come in the door and they both greet you, you have to give them something to do. You can't say hi to them. All right. So I always think of my favorite case when it comes to fighting dogs. Okay. Two fighting Rottweilers, 120 pounds, two boys. One of them name was Coach, and one of them was named Reggie. Okay. And the owners were older, and they had this going on in their home. And so the root of the problem was a jealousy issue. It really was. Okay, they both wanted attention, and they both didn't like each other there when the attention was given to one. So what we did was we focused on um, distributing attention when they deserved it, or on our terms, basically. Not when the dogs wanted it, but when we were ready to give it. So when they walked in the door, the dogs were to go lay down, be calm, and that alleviated a lot of the potential, uh, you know, situations where they would fight. And when you did pet one and one came over, you want to have the ability to say, go, shoot that other dog away. Okay, that's just dog socialization 101. If you've ever worked with a group of dogs, you would know that if you pet one, there's a whole bunch that's going to come and want to get some pet too. And that's when that tension could become too much for whoever, and then fights can happen. So pet one dog at a time if you have fighting dogs. If you have a dog that is jealous, you have to be able to shoo that dog away. Okay, so there's a lot of fundamentals when it comes to two fighting dogs that are viciously continuing to fight. But that's just a general answer. Um, Feel free to call me. We can talk about it more. But I'll end it with this. Everything again. If things are happening to that extreme and that extent, you want to remember that everything happens through you and your control, and you can get your dogs to respect what you want, and in doing that, their relationship may become good again, right? If they ever have played before all this fighting happened, you may start to see them with enough time. You may start to see them want to do that again, but they got to trust each other and build a positive relationship. So it doesn't seem like they have that right now. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay, got a couple questions live coming in. Oh, that ain't it. That's the wrong one. Bear with me. All right, let's see. If anybody has any questions about what I just said, what I just explained, please feel free to chime in. I want to make this, you know, a conversation. I love having conversation. Okay, here we go. This is word for word. My dog. I wish it wasn't so costly to give my dog the life she deserves. Can't take her anywhere. What's word for word your dog? What do you mean by that? All right. Spot gets bit by another dog and does not react. Should I fear that if it happens more, he may get dog aggressive? It happened at doggy daycare where he has been awesome and not aggressive with other dogs. Um, that's a good question. You want to try and figure that out with the dog daycare. Um, Obviously, if anyone gets bit, it's, in my opinion, especially if a dog has done good at that dog daycare, then it is the dog daycare's fault of lack of attention. All right. You know, I can't really say. I would say again, what did the dog daycare say happened? Because I'm very familiar with what goes on in those situations. So I don't know. I don't. I didn't. I've ran a yard for many years that never had a fight, and uh, no dogs got hurt, and it all comes down to if you're being lazy or not. So if it continues to happen, I might pull my dog out. But guess what? Things happen. Sometimes, it depends on the dog too. I had a dog. I was walking to dog daycare for my job. I was going to work, and I had a pit bull, uh, and let's see, I had actually three of them. So they were all my dogs, and then I had Two off leash dogs come up and attack my dogs. One latched on them or whatever, and surprisingly, no holes, no blood or anything like that. No need to go to the vet. But we continued to go to work, and you know, the dog that got latched onto played with other dogs later that day. So, it didn't make him more aggressive. You know, so it depends on the dog, but if this happens, if it's a frequent situation, you may want to raise concern if that's the deal. I know I've definitely met Spot, but I can't tell you what goes on in the dog daycare because I don't know about the dog daycare. I can tell you if he got bit. I don't know if it was his fault. Maybe he was being a jerk. I can't really even imagine him being a jerk though, so he's still a young puppy, growing and stuff. So, what did the dog daycare? What was their explanation? That's more important because he never even, while he was here, never even, did anything sideways with my pack. So, all right, next question. Um, Hi Jeremy, my dog has been complaining by moaning or barking softly whenever I tell him to stop barking or to lay down or just whenever he wants attention. What should I do to make him stop? Um, just continue to make him lay down. All the complaining, sounds and all that can go away. Sometimes I'll give my dog an extra, oh, be quiet, like stop talking back kind of deal. It'll go away if your dog can hold the command pretty much. Like, okay, I'll tell my dog, go lay down. And the dog will, like, or whatever. And if he gives me some extra stuff, I'll be like, quiet, or something like that. But as long as he's holding his place and not getting up, then all that will go away because the dog will find it not necessary to do that. Or if, some dogs are more, like dramatic than others, but in general, I've found that that's kind of what the deal is there. All right. Thank you for your question. Feel free to ask another one. Look, guys, you guys aren't limited to one question either. Okay. Ask as many as you like because we're here until you guys run out of questions. All right, I got a couple of questions on the Instagram. So I'm going to. Actually, I got a couple of questions from earlier today. Okay, and question: we are getting a 10-week-old male English Cocker the weekend of March 17th. I picked the breed because I thought it would go better with Millie, the Golden Retriever, than the Fox Terrier did. What can we do to make this a more successful process? Adding a new family member. You know Millie, so I thought you would know that we should do or what we should do to make this work. Okay. So, 10-week-old male English Cocker Spaniel with Millie. You know, um, the very, very, very safe way is to obviously introduce them slowly, maybe outside, especially if Millie's not the territorial type. Um, Introduce them outside, let them play, keep a leash on the Cocker Spaniel so that if you see that the Cocker Spaniel the English Cocker is overwhelming Millie, then you can give Millie a break. Okay, so I'd let the Cocker Spaniel drag a leash, and then I'd kind of stay around them too, playing in the front yard or wherever it was, and then I would step on the leash if I saw that the puppy was overwhelming the little dog. I mean the adult dog. Because what happens if you want to ensure, sometimes you don't have to worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. They may be a match made in heaven. But to be sure, cover all your bases. Let that puppy drag a leash. Give Millie a break if you see so, if you see that, right? And so that's what you want to continue to observe is mutual play. If Millie seems like she's just retreating, not wanting to do with this puppy, puppy's just gonna be the puppy and be obnoxious. If Millie is playing and engaging and happy and tail wagging and all that, then you can allow it to go on, But the safe way is to just read your dog and give Millie breaks when necessary, because Millie could be a good teacher. Uh, if she's not overwhelmed. If she's overwhelmed, she may teach sooner than later, which means I need space, and she may do some ugly things to the puppy. But like I said, just watch, just be attentive, be present, and stop unfair play if you see that. And that's how you're going to establish a good relationship between the two. Now, take it slow too. You have all the time in the world. Maybe, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, or, short periods of time during the day, them two get out and they play. You know, um, not a lot of, especially maybe in the house too. Keep them separate in the house in the beginning, because Millie will probably like her space, and she could get crabby over that. So even in the house, it's a good idea. Hi, how are you? Even in the house, it's a good idea to have the puppy drag a leash as well. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay, question for Amber. Question: my red hound mix is once again sassy when I'm home alone with him. Mostly he wants me to play, acts bored, and then just barks a lot at me. He doesn't do this with my husband ever. He'll mostly just lay around when my husband's home. We had broke this for a long time, but now I hadn't spent much time home alone with him in a while. Any suggestions on how to break this? Do I just use the place command and let him bark it out? The worst new habit is barking at me in whine barking directly at me, and if I try to eat while home alone, uh, at me if I try to eat while I'm home alone. Anywhere he can stand and bark, he will. I try to keep the same routine as when the hubby's home, but doesn't make a difference to Red. He will find a way to bark until I'm done eating. Any suggestions on why he does this or how to break it? Yeah, Amber. He's barking because he wants something out of it. It's going. He has a way of thinking of, this is going to get me something eventually. Otherwise, they won't do it. Okay, so you can take one of two approaches. You can take the forceful route, which means telling him to go lay down and forcing him to go lay down, right? Um, or you can let him bark and see that it doesn't get him anything, but you'll have to deal with the barking, which most people don't want to deal with. So I would suggest the first. Tell him to go lay down. Give him something to do. He's just being mischievous. And the only reason why he thinks he can get away with it with you is because he knows you and he's spending more time with you. So give him something to do in that regard. If he gets bored, go lay down. Obviously, make sure you're giving him what he needs, exercise, let outs, and all that. But once that's covered, he shouldn't be bothering you. You guys should just be living in a peaceful household. So if he knows he can work you, he's going to work you too, because he wants to. That would be just his nature then. But you can alleviate that by giving him a job he has to do. Okay? And if he doesn't listen to you, you may have to put the leash on him so that you can make him listen to you. That's how it'll go away. That's how it'll go away. And that's how he'll stop that barking crap. Especially when you're eating. Don't give him any food. That may be counterproductive. All right. Any of you guys just joining in, feel free to ask a question. This is a dog behavior to training Q&A. I put dog behavior this time because I feel training maybe specifically just kind of speaks to one thing, but I put behavior this time because I want to maybe feel it makes me think that it's a more broad, uh, more subjects can be talked about and not just training. Because training and dog trainers and dog behaviorists, in my opinion, are different. All right. Okay. We have two female dogs. Most of the time they get along fine. Are you? Most of the time they get along fine, but the older dog has become a little territorial about a certain person in our house and will occasionally attack the younger dog when we are just sitting around. What's the best way to put a stop to this? So you got to control that older dog. Control that other dog. Do not let that older dog think it's okay to do that behavior. You really, hi Rachel, long time no see. How are you? You have to take control of that older female dog. Okay, you know, in my mind, what I think of that and what I've noticed about that, I like the buzzed head. Um, is that a when a dog decides to attack another dog when things seem a little different or in the dog's mind unstable, then that's just her feeding her need to be in control. You know what I mean? So you you gotta step in and sort of show that female dog that there's no need to control the situation. That in fact, the humans are in control of the situation. So the best way to do that is to give those dogs something to occupy their mind by a way of giving them a command: lay down, go on your bed, go lay down on your bed, right? Stay, something like that. But they actually do that and not just feel free to get up. So that's how you want to monitor, and that's how you can improve their behavior. And because there's just tons of dogs that come to me that are um, used to taking control of an unstable situation. That's pretty much the majority of what the dogs that I work with, right? Whether they bite, whether they, you know, bite strangers through the door, attack other dogs. It's all because they don't think there's any other option. They feel like they have to do that. So the way that you can alleviate that is by taking control yourself. Limit the amount of free roam in the house, especially when strangers are over. That'll help. But they must do something when you tell them to do it, and they must be able to hold, their with they must be able to do what you tell them to do with duration, pretty much. So I hope that helps. Feel free to ask another question. You guys can ask multiple questions. I'm not going to hate on you. All right. Thanks. He doesn't eat until after we're finished eating, but even in a lay, he barks. I think I'll work on making him wait for his dinner longer after I finish. If he doesn't quiet for very long. No, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this. Now, put him on his bed. He shouldn't even be around you while you eat. Right? Put him in another room. But allow him to make the choice to come out or not. So if you're eating in the kitchen, maybe put him in the living room. Do not allow him to see you eat. Not meaning that I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to say he shouldn't see you eat. He should have the option to come and, get into that barking mode, right? Meaning, don't put a gate up, don't put him in a room, don't put him in a crate. But if you really want to solve that problem, you put him somewhere where he has to stay, that he is away from you. So I would I would put his bed in the living room, and then I would make him lay down in the living room. That's it, right? So he has no option to come up to you and start doing that misbehave, because he'll lay down, yeah, but he's next to you, or he's in the kitchen and he's close to the table or wherever you're eating and barking. No, that's not what you want. You want the dog to be away from you, because you said, get away from me, go lay down, and you eat in peace. All right. Okay. Moving on. Um, my new foster dog Milo is a pity mix. 1.5 years old, super sweet and very friendly. He gets along great with my resident dog, and they play really well together. But how much play is too much play? Seriously, they could go on for hours if I don't place them, and uh, if I don't place them and make them take a break. Yesterday they played so long and hard that they went through so much water, and Milo actually started to pee on the rug. He stopped actually to pee on the rug. He stopped immediately when I said outside, and I rushed him outside the potty. So now I'm starting to limit the amount of water I have out for them. I don't want them to play to exhaustion, and I also don't want to feel like they're being punished when I separate them. They play really well together. Sometimes they need a little peace. The question is, how much time is a reasonable amount of time for dogs to be allowed to play? Uh, I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because I know, what it looks like when dogs are just like, we just can't even get enough of each other. They're just playing, tongues are hanging out the side of their mouth, and they're just loving it. But so I don't know. It's a hard question to answer. I like to just let dogs play. It's one of the uh, coolest things to watch. It's one of the best things to watch. If you've got two dogs that just love each other, then it's awesome. If and just monitor it. I do give dogs breaks. I think they're very helpful. Um, I would, yeah, I would say let them have it. Let them have it at it. You know, um, but make sure it's under your control and under your command. When you say stop, they should stop for the most part, right? And yeah, let them freaking just get it. I love it. Thank you for your question. All right, even in another room on his bed or his kennel, he'll red barks until we're done. And so I'm thinking, okay, so I was thinking, have him wait longer and hopefully quiet him until he realizes barking during dinner will not get him his dinner. That's another approach. I mean, that's the approach that I had said earlier. It may work, um, but this is inside the house. Oh Lord, well, you know how I feel about inside the house. I don't allow dogs to play inside the house. They can play outside. It's getting warmer now. Weather's starting to break around here. No excuse. Let them play outside. Inside the house, no, 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 no. And this is why. Well, first of all, I'm just kind of, I would say, anal, maybe. But this, secondly, I'm with the dogs all day, so we're outside the majority of the day. Inside the house, quiet time, lay down time. That's about it. But my philosophy with that is, if we associate calm energy in the house, then I don't have to worry about my guests when they come over getting jumped on, having to row my dogs back to the bed, having the potential for them to be bit, or anything like that. So that's another good reason to enforce calm energy in the house. So teach the dog command quiet during dinner time, Stacy says. Will that work? Yes. Yeah, for sure. Feel free to ask. Um, I I definitely think that people should take more control of their dogs in the house. Spend more time with them outside. You can be on your phone. You can be on your phone outside too. But somebody's got to spend some more time with the dogs. Usually it's me. But guess what I tell the owners? You got to continue to spend some time with the dog if you want it to behave. If you want the behavior to continue to improve. Otherwise, it's not going to improve. It's only going to go back to where it was before you brought the dog to me. So time is the key. Now, when dogs leave my place, now they've got the tools to actually listen in every single scenario, because it's not about the individual scenario more so than it's about gaining respect from the dog. How is the current group doing? Current group is doing wonderful. I've got a dog who's really, I would say two dogs, two out of the seven are really, they really need a lot of independence work. Do I use place boards in your house or just kennels? I use place boards. Yeah, two dogs that I need to show some. It's almost like they're not comfortable in their own skin. They're very stressed when they can't get affection. They're very stressed when they can't get attention from me, and it's really good for them because they'll learn to be comfortable without their drug. Because the humans, for the dogs, the humans are the drug, and without humans, without the affection, some dogs will become very stressed. Um, and too much of it, they will become um, aggressive. So, so part of what we do here is getting dogs to realize that they are okay being away from their human, but also becoming comfortable with not having it as much. Because if they have too much affection, then there's just no consequence that's going to be big enough for the dog or worth it for them to behave. So you're just building a pretentious brat. Okay, do you agree with using muzzles for dogs that have a history of fighting so they can use to bring around each other again and not always be separated? This is with other training, of course. Let's see. Well, I can tell you, I can't really give you an answer for that. I don't use muzzles, okay? Um, because muzzles change the mental state sometimes. If the dog's really not muzzle conditioned, then it can sort of suppress their behavior. You don't get all of their all of who they are. Okay, so but but you can get there if your muzzle conditioning is good enough, right? So there can be dogs that become indifferent to the muzzle. As far as just saying I have it on, it makes no difference about my behavior. You know what I mean? But that takes a long time. And so for me, I have 3 weeks. That's just an added dynamic that I sort of don't deal with because I deal with enough in my program that I would like to get over. Um, so when I do socialization, my thing is when I have the dog that is aggressive and I have the dog around a few dogs, maybe one or two, those two dogs are not going to be able to come up to the dog that's muzzled at first. I want the dog that's muzzled or the dog that's fearful to go up to them. And that may take time. Okay, so people underestimate that factor right there, time. And that's what I think that I do really well, is I allow the fearful dog the choice to go up to my dogs. Now you have to be tough on your dogs, the dogs that aren't aggressive, in order to achieve that. But I it makes a very successful situation in where uh, there's no fights that happen, because if you allow the fearful dog to make the choice, the dog decides to go up to them, and the relationship is really good moving forward. So I don't use, like I said, I don't use muzzles, but I do separate dogs for long enough until the dog that I'm working with is comfortable enough to make the first interaction. Hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask another question. But that other training that you mentioned is very important, because you have to also develop a sort of dialogue with the fearful dog that you're working with. If you have no dialogue with the dog that you're working with, then when it comes to being in that fearful situation, the dog's just not going to listen to you, because it really doesn't know you to that extent. So that would be that other training that I would speak of. Right now it's really cold to play outside. For who? Where do you live? How can I keep my dog calm where we're not playing and in a playful state when it's time to play, since we're doing both activities in the same rooms? Should I hide his toys when it's time to play or something like that? Sure. Oh, you're in London. Shout out to London. How cold is it? Because it's quite cold here. And guess what? If it's if the dogs are, it can be below 0. And I put jackets on my dogs, and they still play. It's not for long, but they still play. I always think about it like this: if they can handle it, then I'm out there. I got to. I can't just say, "Oh, I'm cold. I got to go in." I'm not saying that you do that, but just coming from my standpoint, if the dogs can handle it, then I got to be outside, as long as they can handle it. And again, this is the frozen tundra over here. It's getting warmer now, but I'm outside all the time, and um, you know, -4. Yeah, that's cold. That's cold. Um, so I would allow them to play inside. Maybe like, well, it doesn't really matter. You can let them play whenever you want. The thing that you want is what you said before: control inside the house when you want it. You know what I mean? And as long as you have that, then everything's okay. As long as you have the ability to say, "Hey, all right, enough. Take a break. Go lay down," and they do so, let them have at it. So I understand that we have to adjust according to the weather, for sure. It's tough being out there. All right. Thank you for your question and conversation. All right, folks. Any last questions? I don't have anything else to talk about. The dogs are doing great. They are, like I said, it's just typical stuff. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Yeah, they're just nothing I haven't seen before. I've got this German Shepherd. This is kind of interesting. Hasn't happened in a while. But this German Shepherd, I went and took the dog back, or the owner came out of the car with the German Shepherd during drop off, and the dog just was like, "You're not even getting 10 feet without me trying to freaking get at you, right? Just right, super vicious." Okay, So we take the dog in the backyard. I say, drop the leash. We're in the backyard. And I say, go ahead and say your goodbyes. And then you can head out. Um, she does that. The owner does that. And the dog right away comes right up to me. Not in a vicious way, but in a curious way. So I allowed it to happen. And the dog has been cool with me ever since. It was like, wow. I haven't had a dog in a long time just be so okay after the owner was gone. Just be like, hey, what's up, dude? How are you? Like that was just because I'm trying to protect my owner. No hard feelings. Like he was totally cool with me, and has been ever since. Not even any crate aggression, which is not normal. Okay, I usually experience when a dog comes at me like that during drop off, I'll usually see some crate aggression. I'll usually see some fear. This dog pretty much had none, man. I mean, he came right up to me and sniffed me, and it was like, wow, okay. Um, so some dogs do really well away from their owners, but not to this extent. So that's what was different, and that's what I noted. All right, all right, guys. That's it for today. I really appreciate it. If you liked what you heard or whatever, please give me a heart, give me a like, or whatever it is. I really appreciate that. We're going to be here next week, same time, episode 71. And come with your questions or come with your conversation because this is what it's all about. And we really appreciate it. It's fun talking, learning, and helping. We'll see you guys next time.